Happy New Month again to everyone. I've had to quickly change a camera setup here because of some battery storage issues, but we're here, and we're going to be having some interesting conversations today as we usually do. And here's how I want you to come into today, right? I know most times when we join live sessions or we're in programs, we're like, oh, what am I going to learn? What am I going to take away? What are the things I'm going to change? Here's how I want to encourage you to look out for your learning moment today, and that's to just tell yourself, what one or two things am I going to take away? Okay, what one or two things am I going to take away? Don't give yourself so much stress on, oh, I have to get all the points. I mean, if you have your notes, you can take it down. All these things, you can take your notes down, the points, the things you don't want to forget, the quotes, the book. I'm going to show you a book today. You can note them down, but when you're talking about wanting to be intentional for that change, right? Just focus on one or two things for starters, all right? And then when you started to master those things, you can now go back to the other things you're learning, all right? That's one of the things I think I'll start emphasizing when we have these sessions now, so that we can make the best of the time. So for those of you that might just be joining now or clicking in, all right? So here's FolaFayo, the Perception Shaper. I partner with leaders to help them to thrive and transition to the next level using the Thriving Code. And on Thriving Thursdays like this, what we do is we look into an idea that could give you tips and opportunities to consider so that you can also thrive. And one of the tools that I have learned, I put together and I use with my clients over and over again is the Thriving Code. And we're going to have a team member. If you're on Facebook, we're going to have a team member drop the link on that one. And if you're on Instagram, or you're just watching the replay on another platform and you're like, I don't know what the Thriving Code is about, just send me a DM or a mail, FolaFayo@FolaFayo.com. T-code, just title it T-code. Even if you don't get to write anything in the mail, just put T-code there and I will send you a link so that you can get your own copy. Fantastic. So it's a good place to start today. And like I said, we're a little bit behind on time. So I'm going to try and touch on as many of the points that I put together today. Don't worry, they're not many, they're just 4 points. But enough for us to start to think about what we're doing with our space, right? So today we're going to be looking into the C.You.O, the C.You.O. If you saw that title and it fascinated you a bit, just give me a wave, because I always think through the topics we're going to be, sharing on, to think about something that people can kind of understand and get some form of intrigue, when they see it. They'll be intrigued when they see it, fascinated a bit, but more importantly, they'll be able to say, I need to be on this session. I feel this is something that I need now. I know that for some people, they may not have the opportunity to join in live and they only get to watch the replays or the version we have on the podcast. So if you're watching the replay or listening to the podcast days after today, just send me #replay in a mail or in the comment section. All right, now today we're going to be looking at that. And I know that for many people, they might have wondered, FolaFayo, okay, did you mean to type CEO, CFO, COO, CTO? Because the truth is, most of us are familiar with those terms, right? Especially people who are in the corporate space. And even if you're not in the corporate space and you're a business person, or you're someone who is aspiring to be in the business space, you're probably looking forward to when they will have in front of your name or your business, CEO this, founder, and CEO this. I'm still using founder for now. I'm not using CEO yet, but I have friends who are business leaders and are using that already. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the titles, nothing wrong at all. But I know that this is something that a lot of people might be familiar with. And I know that in the corporate space, I've had those that I've worked with as well, who are aspiring to be on that level, that place where they can say, oh, I'm now part of the C-suite. I belong to the vice P or vice this role, or I'm on this executive team of this. We are all looking forward to that place where we're not just looking at the ops in the company. We're now coming to the place of tactics and strategy, and we're contributing, our competence to the bottom line from a different angle, not just directly. So I know a lot of people are aspiring for that space and all of that. And then, yeah, this is the book I wanted to show you guys. Don't worry, I'm not done yet. I hope to come back and share with you guys my top takeouts from this book. So I saw this book in the store a while back, the C.You.O Excellence, and of course it fascinated me. Anything that fascinates me, I get drawn to it. I'm must have some connections with Moses in the Bible, because the burning bush, seeing the bush burning, with fire, with flames and not burning, attracted him. So this was like that for me. I saw it and I was like, oh, the C.E.O. excellence, I need to check it out. And I can tell you that reading the book basically just confirmed for me certain things about how such roles are handled. So different individuals, when you make them CEOs of big companies, will always bring something different to the game, will always bring something new. I know that in some multinationals, they don't really change the CEOs very often, but whenever you have a change, something happens, right? But then they drive that thing. But one thing I can tell you, in addition to that, that I have come to see about that is that these individuals who occupy the C-suite roles, maybe over the operations or over the tech part or over the people management or over the finance, they are driving decisions and they are also involved in the process. So they're not just, delegating and that's it. They are the ones actually driving the decisions. They are now delegating. They are appreciating the people that work directly with them in a team. And then they are also making sure that the strategies are implemented. And, of course, when the reward and when the accolades come, it's the CEO and the C-suite individuals that are kind of rewarded and recognized for it. But I'll tell you this, the more I thought about it, the more it connected for me with this deep concern that I've carried on my heart for so long. And that's the fact that in your own life, you are a big part. You play a big part. The thing is, most of us are aspiring for these C-suite roles. We want to get to that level where we can say, oh, we're this and we're that, we have these titles. And we forget that our lives are just as important. Our destinies, our callings, our purposes, or what God has called us to do in life are just as important as driving the vision of a company or driving a particular division in a company. We tend to forget that. We forget that we have a part to play. And I can tell you that all these individuals I'd seen featured in the book who were doing great things in the organizations, for them to have been profiled in such a book would have been people who were already taking responsibilities in their lives. They were basically C.You.Os in their lives before they started taking position and doing incredible things out there. Now, some people may say, oh, FolaFayo, I know people who are in C-suite roles and their lives are all over the place, but they do well. I'm sure those are not the kind of lives you want to model your life after, right? You definitely want to be in that space where you can say, people are looking at your life and people are looking at your outputs in the corporate or the business space, and they can connect it together to say you're doing well, you're kind of balanced, and you're having an all-round success in all the places. So today I'm going to be helping us to challenge ourselves on how we can make sure we stay as an excellent C.U.O. of our lives, because sometimes I feel like many of us leave things to chance. And many of us leave the reasons to why we're not doing certain things in our lives to external factors. Okay, so yes, I agree. There are some things that are beyond us. There are some things that you cannot control. You wake up one day and then it starts to rain. You couldn't control it. But guess what? Whether you're in the rain or out or in some shade, out of the rain is your responsibility. All right? So there are some things that we cannot determine. You are in an organization and then the organization, policy says at the end of the year, we take out the bottom 10. You tried your best that year and for some reason they just tell you need to go. It's beyond your control. But guess what? How you feel, how you handle the whole process and what you do after that is still your responsibility. And many times I have had conversations with people. I see comments on social media, maybe a post is put up and I see a lot of people, we've resigned to fate. We've resigned to whatever comes. And then you will hear a lot of people say things like, whatever will be, will be. And you find out that a lot of people are not taking any deliberate action on their part to make things change. And what I always say in my heart when I see people resign to that is, you have a part to play in the process. In the process towards your purpose, you have a part to play. You cannot leave it to chance. I know from what I have learned from my experiences, and I will share a few tonight, is that the moment you start to play your part, you will see a change. In fact, it reminds me of one of my favorite songs. I use it a lot. In fact, I've not had so much time when I set up now to play it before we start the sessions. But you might want to look out for it. It's Glorious by, I think his name is David Achuluta or something. I think we'll drop the link if you don't know the song. But I can tell you that that song talks about you waking up to do your part. When you do your part, then other things will follow. Others will play their part. I know a lot of people say, well, but if this person hasn't done this, I can't do this. If this person hasn't done this, I can't do this. Here's how one of my mentors always says that when you approach the decisions or the steps you take thinking that you cannot do something because someone hasn't done their part, you are making yourself disempowered. And every time you're positioned in a disempowered state, you are powerless to move forward and to get the best that you can. And so today I'm going to be highlighting four things you might need to start considering in being that C.You.O of your own life. And I can tell you that if you see someone who is showing up powerfully or doing really well as C.You.Os of their lives, it's most likely that they are taking opportunities that a lot of people are passing by. In fact, they are not just taking the opportunities, they are spotting those opportunities before a lot of other people do. So the question is this: how would you rate yourself? Let's start there. How would you rate yourself on the C.You.O scale? 0 to 5. How would you rate yourself? All right. So I'm going to share 4 things you might want to look out for to see how have I been doing on these things? What can I do differently on these things? All right. So the first one we're going to be looking at today is with respect to decision making. Decision making. You know, particularly this year, one thing that has been reinforced for me when I try to have conversations with people is to bring them to this. Have you made up your mind? Do you want this? And when do you want it? And maybe this is so because it has been my own experience, right? And I think about my mastermind group. So we have like 3 mastermind groups we run in the year. I think we're going to be making a modification to that. I'll announce that in a bit, not today, but soon, right? So we have like 3 mastermind groups typically that we run in a year. And I can tell you that even though I've run these mastermind groups for 2 consecutive years, when it's about time to launch, I usually always dilly-dally. Yes, I can tell you that without covering my face, that I also have those points when I'm not ready. I'm just not in that place. And so I'm dilly-dallying and I'm just saying, no, this hasn't happened. But I have realized this, that every single time I tell myself, you need to tell yourself you will do this. You need to tell yourself when you will start this, things start to fall in place. So the question with anything you are doing in your life today is, have you decided if you want it? And have you decided when you want it? Because deciding you want something and deciding when you want something, they are critical. You know, we spoke about 3 critical points on the path to your goal just a few weeks back. And one of the things that, you know, I said is that even before you get on the track is decision making. It's one of the things that mark for strengths for CEOs and anyone in a C-suite position. They are decision makers and they are making decisions back to back, as in things are coming to their table and they have to be making decisions. In your own life, what are you dilly-dallying about? I can tell you that I still dilly-dally. But you know what? I know that every single thing that I decide quickly on, and I decide properly on. So I'm not saying rush into your decisions, but every single time you decide properly and you decide quickly enough, you will see a difference, all right? And you may be saying, okay, FolaFayo, so apart from what I want and when I want it, what might I be looking out for? The other thing you want to be clear on when it comes to decisions will be boundaries. You see, we have limited time and mind space. I'll call it mind space. So time with respect to, at this moment in time, I'm sitting here. I cannot be with my kids at the same time. So I'm actually making a trade-off being here. I'm sitting here with you guys. I cannot be with my husband at the same time, okay? So time could determine where you are, except of course some people are like, oh, FolaFayo, don't worry, the design of the metaverse is going to allow us to do much more of that. Let's wait for that to come. But right now, you have just 24 hours to work with. You can only be somewhere at the same time, all right? And at the same time, your mind share is limited. I mean, you cannot have too many things in your mind. You can, but you find that many people who have too many things in their mind, sometimes they start to make a lot of errors. I remember today when I was, sorting our laundry, I just put a new batch into the washing machine, and I was about putting the Downy bottle into the detergent box. And I was like, what am I doing? I was just telling myself, you have so much on your mind. We have limited mind share. We have limited time. When you say yes to something, you automatically are saying no to something else. And so sometimes we may be thinking, oh, I've not decided. And I've said this also before on one of our sessions. You may be thinking, oh, but I've not decided. Yes, you have, because you're saying no to something means you've said yes to something else. And every single time you don't say no to the things you should be saying no to, that means that you're saying yes to other things. And so the question is, how are you managing that decision making? Especially with things that have to do with where you'll be and what you'll be given. Boundaries, the ability to establish boundaries properly, is a strong strength of a C.You.O. In your life, you need to be able to develop, establish, and make clear your boundaries. As in, people need to know that this thing, this person is not going to take. And I can tell you that it keeps your space sane. If everything, everywhere is being thrown at you, brought to you, anytime, anyhow, I can tell you that you're not going to be having a lot of focus. And when you don't have focus, you're not going around things the way you should. So decision making, how is your decision making? All right. Now, the next thing that you need to be intentional about as the C.You.O. is your growth. I know that, the first time I came into a proper corporate setup post-graduation, most of the time, I was always waiting for the company to nominate me for a training. I thought that if the company didn't nominate me for a training, they were the ones going to lose. But guess who was losing? I was. Because a lot of my mates were doing things more deliberately and they were seeing results. But I thought that my growth depended on the company. But it doesn't work that way. You are responsible for your growth. You see, where you are today and where you aspire to be tomorrow, or the goal you intend to achieve tomorrow, there's a gap in between. And you know what's going to fill that gap? Your growth. Because when you eventually get to your goal, you're not going to be the same person. You're going to be changed. You're going to be transformed. So if you're intentional about this growth, you will get to a goal hitting point that would even amaze you. But are you intentional about that growth? Now, some people may say, okay, FolaFayo, if you're talking about studying, reading, learning, going for conferences, attending seminars, I do all that. But I can tell you that that's not all. Because a lot of us are doing those things and we're doing them randomly. You now need to ask yourself, is it targeted? Because if your growth is not targeted, you read one book today, you read another book today. Now, I'm not saying that you won't gain a lot, okay, from reading diversely or reading comprehensively. Of course, it's something that is advised. We advise our kids to read far and wide. Don't just read fiction, read other kinds of things. But the truth is, when it comes to growing, as much as possible, you also want to know what you are actually developing, what you're targeting, what you're trying to achieve. So targeted growth is very important with growing. And I can tell you that the more you focus on that, the better. I know that before I could call myself a coach, for a long time I used to think, what's with coaching? Is it not to sit with people, take them through the things you know, and then you can help them to get to their goals and results and things like that? It's not so. Until I went through my coaching training, did I finally know that it's a total different ball game, right? It is totally different, but it refined my ability to coach. Today, when I go into a coaching session, I understand what I'm trying to support my clients on. I don't just go randomly thinking, okay, let's just see what the clients will say. What do we do? How do we do something? I go focused because I understand what a coach needs to be doing in a coaching session. And that came because I grew. So the question to you today is, are you growing intentionally in your space? Are you taking up that responsibility to have a targeted growth? It reminds me also of this quote I saw recently. G.W. Crane puts it this way. He says, there is no future in any job. Because a lot of us are thinking, oh, I'm looking for that job that has a future, the job of the future. Let's go target those companies, the company of the future. It might be a good idea, but I'm not sure if that is if it is proof, if it's a crisis-proof strategy. You know why? Because Crane puts it this way: the future, instead, lies in the one who holds the job. I'll read that again. There is no future in any job. The future lies in the one who holds the job. So if you're looking for an opportunity as what will give you a guarantee, an assurance, you're probably going off track. You need to first of all make sure that you are the one who has that guarantee. The guarantee is in you, C.You.O. You are the C.You.O of your life, and you need to value yourself enough to appreciate the worth that growing yourself will give to you. Because sometimes we see opportunities to grow ourselves. We see even a book to buy. We see a program to be a part of, and we don't feel that we deserve to allow that growth for ourselves. And sometimes we are waiting for those opportunities to come free or fully discounted. It cannot always be the case, because even when you want something premium, you need to pay premium for it. That's the truth. And that's where you're going to see incredible results. So my question to you on that one is, how much do you treasure yourself? How much do you value yourself? And that goal that you are getting into, enough for you to say, I am intentionally growing myself in a targeted way. And you know, the other thing about growing yourself is that as you learn new things, you start to have a different way of talking and walking. Because your talk and your walk, they are driven by what you know. Now you may say FolaFayo, but there are some people who have nothing up there. They don't know so much, but they go around like they know so much. I'm sure you don't want to be like people like that, because they might get into some spaces, but when they have the flow, it's their substance that is going to keep them. You want to have substance, all right? You want to have that thing that makes you hold a place. And the opportunity will come as you grow yourself, all right? So growth, intentional growth, targeted growth is one of the things that stands out, is C.You.O from another C.You.O, all right? Now, the third one, I'm looking at the time, so we need to go off quickly, is connection. So you're going to be connecting with two kinds of people. And I think I might have shared this before in one of our sessions. You need to connect to two kinds of people in your life. One set. In fact, when I wrote my notes, I had to reorder it, because I realized that the first set of people I put there were the people you were supposed to be giving to. But I realized that if you don't have given to you, you won't have anything to give out, right? So the first set of people you want to be connected to are people who are going to sharpen you and pour into you. And you know what? Many of us are not intentional about that at all. We don't really have people who are helping us to grow, who are helping us to, be the best that we can be, who are inspiring us, voices around us. Many of us don't have it. And the question for you on that is, what are you going to do? Who are you going to start connecting with? All right. So you may be saying, okay, what kind of people are you talking about here? FolaFayo, I'm talking about mentors, coaches, accountability partners, your peers who are also doing the kind of things you're doing, and you can sharpen one another. But there are people who are going to be pouring into you. I know that I have seen so much of growth in my own life. I may be using the word growth so much tonight, but really there's no other word I can use. Okay, let me use the word improvement. I have seen so much improvement in my life as a result of having coaches, mentors, and accountability partners. I know that in this past week, I had 2 different sessions with 2 different individuals, and both of them left me unstuck on something and inspired to take something I had never considered before. It happens. You need to have people who are pouring into you. Who do you have in that space? The second set of people you want to connect with as C.You.O will be the people you are pouring into. And these are the people that you are destined to, offer something to, a solution, a value. Some of them, you're going to be doing it just for the sense of fulfillment, so they're not going to be paying you. But some of them, they're going to see the value and they will pay, because you are packaging that gift for them. So they have to pay you the right price that you place on that, offer that you have out there to sort out their solutions, to sort out their issues by providing solutions for them. So 2 set of people you want to be connecting with at C.You.O, those who are pouring into you and sharpening you, and those who you're going to be providing solutions and value to, okay? The last thing on the list, and definitely not the list of it all, is this. You need to show up. You need to show up. I think it might have been the first point I will have stressed tonight. You need to show up. I don't know if I can write it in bold letters and just put it out here. You need to show up. You see, for a long time, you see the things that I'm doing today. Years ago, I had an idea that I could do them. When I resigned from the bank in 2010, this is 2022, this is 12 years after. When I resigned from the bank in 2010, I had in my mind things that I wanted to do to support people through transitions, but my idea wasn't crisp and clear. I didn't know a lot of things, right? But in my mind, I kept thinking that somewhere along the line, someone would just remember or realize that there's a Bukola FolaFayo somewhere who could offer this. I don't know, I just had that at the back of my head. And so I was just doing what I could do where I was, thinking things could happen. That's not how my story went. But I can tell you that the first time I put together what I knew to share with people, I started getting people reaching me and telling me, I want to collaborate with you. I want to do work with you. How can you help me? If you're not showing up, it's like you're blinking in the dark and expecting someone to know that you are. No one is going to know what you can do. No one is going to know your worth. No one is going to know what you've been working on yourself to become if you are not showing up. And showing up, it differs for everybody. Some people, their showing up may be excelling and giving much more at work. Some people, it may be doing the kind of thing I'm doing, coming up live like this, right? And sharing an idea, sharing and learning. Some people might just be contributing to a project, but you need to show up. You cannot not show up. As C.You.O, you need to be present. It's just like saying that you are given such a role as CEO of one big company and you stay at home and they're calling you and looking for the strategist and the decision maker and you're nowhere to be found. You have to show up, all right? And I can tell you that, that changed things for me. And when I was writing my notes today, the Bible verse that came to me was this one. A lot of us, people of faith, probably know. A city set on a hill cannot be hid. So maybe you've been hiding yourself. You've been hiding yourself. You've been thinking someone somewhere will remember. Sometimes it happens like that. But it's not always the case. I saw a quick video on TikTok this week. And it was about Paul Brunson. I think that's his name, or Branson Paul or so. And he was talking about how he got a deal with Oprah Winfrey. He said that initially when he was putting out his videos, less than 20 people on YouTube, less than 20 people were watching his videos. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I thought I was the only one that would have videos put out there. I put a lot, trying to put those videos out there and I don't have as many views. He said he used to have less than 20 views and his mom and his loved ones were the ones even watching the video. But he didn't know that he was dropping breadcrumbs. He didn't use those terms, but I'm using that for you. He was dropping breadcrumbs until someone mentioned his name to Oprah because Oprah was looking for someone with his skill. And then someone mentioned his name to Oprah because the person heard Oprah ask for that. And then Oprah started following him and consistently watching his content till she got the conviction that he was the right person for the deal. And you know what? In his mind, he might have been thinking, maybe I should stop showing up. Maybe it doesn't make sense for me to show up. But then eventually the break came. And honestly, I just had to repost that on my status on Instagram because I was like, this is not just encouraging for me. It's going to be encouraging for you because even when you start showing up, you might not see quick results. I can tell you that it happens that way. But eventually, you will get noticed by the right people, the people who need what you are offering or the people that can connect you to bigger opportunities. So, coming back to the first question I asked at the beginning, on a scale of 0 to 5, considering your ability to make decisions for yourself, your intentionality with growing yourself, your ability to stay connected, so you're making those connections, you're looking out for the connections, making the connections, and maintaining the connections, as well as your ability to show up, how would you rate yourself as the CEO of your life? Because if you're still waiting for something outside to happen before you get to the level you're trusting for, you're going to wait a long time. Because those that are taking these decisions daily, back to back, those that are taking these decisions every time, they are seeing incredible results. I wouldn't tell you that I do it all the time well, but I can tell you that those times that I do, I know the difference from the times that I don't. And that's where I'm going to be leaving you all today. So I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined Marketing with LA, I believe. That's your name. Karim, I see you. Thank you for joining. Phoebe Steven, thank you for joining. I'm Liz Buttons, Juwon, Favored MB, Chioma, For the Fight Together, Chikiora on Instagram. I see you guys. Thank you for joining. Chitoyin, I see you. Thank you for joining on Facebook as well. Facebook, guys, you know, I always say if you don't leave me a comment, I won't know you're there. But I see that quite a number of people were able to join me tonight. But thank you for joining me, and it'll be good to hear from you which one you might need help on. Because you may say, oh, FolaFayo, I'm already good in this part, but this one I think I need to boost. Okay, so if you need to boost any and you're not clear how to start, let's have a session. All right, so we're going to be dropping a link for a free or complimentary, depending on the word you prefer, session, okay, and we can help you to start to strategize towards getting this shift as C.You.O. All right, so enjoy the rest of the month. And I forgot to congratulate all the celebrants in November. That includes my dad, my brother-in-law, my daughter, whose birthday is later in the month. We have a team member as well on the Polished Lens whose birthday is this month, and I have a special friend as well, Jimmy. I'm not sure you're going to get to watch this now, but a shout out to you. So every single person who's celebrating this month, congratulations and blessings. And yes, from every one of us at TPL, have a wonderful month of November and stay thriving. Bye-bye.